Donald's big abominable bill is headed for disaster, as it should be, not just with Democrats, because Democratic opposition is kind of irrelevant here since Republicans have the majority in both houses of Congress. It's Republicans who are turning on him and the bill too, especially over the brutal cuts to Medicaid buried inside the bill. Now, listen, this is not all Republicans, but hopefully just enough of them to deny Donald and the rest of the party this win. Some are warning that the failure of this bill could derail Donald's whole agenda. Senators Josh Hawley and Susan Collins have already raised red flags, demanding urgent relief for rural hospitals and warning that Medicaid cuts could devastate entire communities. Hawley even warned leadership that without changes, the bill could collapse. He called one fix, a $100 billion hospital relief fund, a quote unquote good start. But Senate leaders haven't committed to it. Senator Jerry Moran says he's still fighting to get Medicaid changes out of the bill entirely, citing, quote, the well-being of hospitals in Kansas and rural America, unquote. Meanwhile, Rand Paul and Ron Johnson are already hard-nosed, and Lisa Murkowski is reportedly on the fence. They have good reason to panic. In red and purple states, the cuts would be absolutely catastrophic. 600,000 North Carolinians would lose coverage. Louisiana could lose $20 billion in federal health funding. Tennessee, $16 billion, and Missouri, $6.1 billion. And for senators up for re-election in 2026, well, these cuts could potentially be career-ending. So yes, they should be panicking. Just as many Americans should be panicking right now and should be revolting against this monstrous and cruel and inhumane bill. So what is at the center of this revolt? Well, it turns out it's a nationwide work requirement for Medicaid. History shows Republicans have already tried this, and it was disastrous for them. Georgia launched the only active Medicaid work requirement in 2023. Nearly 2 years later, fewer than 7,500 of the 250,000 eligible Georgians have enrolled. That is a 97% failure rate. Worse, the program didn't even save the state money, which has now spent 30% more than budgeted just to create the required digital platform to track the work requirements. On top of that, rising consultant fees and IT costs have skyrocketed, and the ongoing hiring of new caseworkers is expected to cost even more. In other words, it's more expensive to implement, and it's even less effective. Arkansas dropped its own mandate after 18,000 people lost coverage almost immediately. The American people are starting to catch on, but it's the people these counterproductive measures will most directly affect that are fighting on the front lines. Yesterday, Medicaid recipients took to the Capitol to protest, only to be arrested. Take a look. Yes, those terrifying people in wheelchairs and motorized scooters were zip-tied by police officers. Despite Republicans doing anything and everything in their power to prevent the backlash and pretend that the harm they absolutely are planning to do to millions of Americans isn't really a thing, it's clear Medicaid recipients will not back down, and they will not stand for the government's taking away the resources that help them live full and productive lives. It is not just healthcare that's at risk. Donald's big abominable bill also slashes SNAP, the federal food assistance program used by over 40 million Americans, including veterans, children, and seniors. You know, groups that Republicans are supposed to care about, but really don't. Take West Virginia, for example. West Virginia is one of the poorest states in the country. It's also a Republican stronghold that Donald won in 2024 with 70% of the vote. A significant portion of the population relies on SNAP, and residents are warning that even with SNAP benefits, they're already stretched to the brink.
It was probably the only thing that kept me and my family alive for a good while.
It helps me make sure that I have something to eat and put something on the table.
We're in West Virginia, where 16% of its population participates in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP.
My girlfriend is eligible and does use them.
I got with my wife, and we have 2 children.
The hardest thing to do is buy anything fresh, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, things like that, because they're so expensive.
I like to bargain shop because I like to find out where I can get my meats cheaper.
People are like, oh, SNAP people, they only buy like junk food. You have to think about food insecurity. Like, no one can buy healthy foods.
President Trump's big, beautiful bill plans to cut the federal budget on SNAP benefits.
Every single American is going to do better. This bill is geared for middle and working class Americans.
They're giving tax cuts to the billionaires and hurting, whether it's on Medicaid, on SNAP, on so many other issues.
If proposed cuts pass Congress, it could be up to the states to fill the gap.
In states like West Virginia, we're not going to have that funding.
I think there are a lot of other places that the federal government could cut instead.
Not only my food stamps are being cut, but people that have kids.
If it does come into effect, it's going to force me to have to get another job.
To make a federal cut that then would be put onto the state that's already struggling, it just kind of feels like, you know, kicking a horse while it's down.
When asked about the extreme pressures that are going to be placed on states who backed him if these cuts go through, Donald has said that the cuts will somehow lower prices and give more food to Americans, which makes no fucking sense. But of course, he's offered no explanation for that illogical non-explanation. Before we go on, here at Barry Trump Media, we work for one person and one person only, and that's you. We fight every day to keep you up to date on all the falsehoods the Trump regime sends out into the universe. So if you support our mission, please like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. So how are Donald's loyalists defending all of this? They're not. They're lying through their teeth. Take a look at RSBN's coverage of Speaker Mike Johnson's comments.
Look, you've got a number of provisions. We want to make sure that we hold by our commitment that we are not cutting Medicaid. The President has said that, and I've said that. We've all said that. We introduced a work requirement on the House side. It's wildly popular with the people because it follows common sense. If you're going to be on the public wagon and you're able, you should try to help pull it. And all we did was put in there, as you all know, a 20-hour work requirement per week, 20 hours. You guys work 80 hours, I'm sure, right? Give me a break. And they're complaining about that. You either have to be working, you have to be looking for a job in a job training program, or volunteering in your community. For heaven's sakes, do something constructive.
The idea that anybody believes that man is a Christian or a decent human being is beyond me. Mike Johnson, like all the rest of them, is lying about all of it. Republicans like him keep trying to claim that they're not cutting Medicaid, knowing very well that setting up work requirements and excessive red tape will cut access to Medicaid for millions and millions of Americans. By the way, a lot of people who get Medicaid cannot work. That's why they're getting it in the first place. But as usual, they spin. And the media tells the story the way they want them to. Other Republicans are so out of touch that they're simply telling medicated SNAP recipients to get over it. Take a look at Morning Joe's coverage of Republican Senators Ernst and McConnell's cruel comments.
Joni Ernst talking about Medicaid cuts, saying, well, you're going to die anyway. We're all going to die anyway. And now you have Mitch McConnell going, sure, it's going to hurt their health care, but they'll get over it. Just put your head down and vote for this bill.
I'm sure it's very easy for Mitch McConnell to think that voters should just get over it. After all, he and other senators and Congress people have the best health care on the planet. The truth is, people will die. Families, including children, will go hungry. And American voters will remember what Republicans are continuing to do to them. Many people in the Republican base will continue to back this monstrosity, even if it has direct and adverse effects on them and their children. So hopefully there are enough people of conscience or enough people who recognize how insane it is that they are being denied access to life-saving programs just because the Republicans want to make the rich richer. And they will defect and join the fight with millions of other Americans to get our country back. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.